you remember in the former page, in the previous one, you see that we tried to test these inputs, and it was vulnerable to JavaScript attack. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to test the order, the confirm.php, because there was a confirm.php here when we last tested it. If you can remember, if you go back, you're going to see it that give us the order ID. So we're going to retest it again. We're going to use the same parameters, use the same date. We're going to retest it. We're going to turn on the interceptor, click on result booking. We click on result booking. We already tested this, so we don't need to go back and test it again. So we're going to do, we're going to forward it. Before it, we'll click OK. Go back to here. You can see the order ID. You can see the order ID. So for us to confirm about this order ID now, we want to check if this is the same input that is in this order ID. So we're going to now right click, send it to the repeater. And here's the repeater. We're going to send it to the repeater. There's the order ID. We're going to send this. Once we send it, this looks like a HTML page. You see, you can read the HTML code. You can see it. To render this, you can see that this is the input here. You can see the order ID. This is the actual number. So why do we have this alphabet, this random alphabets here? So from experience, you can see that this is the order ID is confirmed, but this is the actual number. But you can see that this is the name here. You can see this is the email. You can see that this is the date. So now this is an alphabet, and while this is a number, from experience you should know that anywhere you see these values that end with equal sign, you have to have a clue that it might be encoded with space 64. So now let's try to see if we can decode it. So now we're going to highlight it. Since it's encoded, let's highlight it and right click on it. Okay. Come to convert selection, select the base 64. So long as it is encoded, we have the actual number, and this is the alphabet. We'll try to decode. We'll have to decode it. As you can see now, this number and this number is the same thing. This is the actual number now. So it's now decoded to the actual number. So which means it was encoded in base 64. Now let's check if we can see the person who ordered before us. So let's try to see if we could change this number. If it is vulnerable to see someone who ordered before, let's change this number to 68. Let's change it to 68. Then I will send it. When I send it, you can see that there's nothing we found here. There's nothing we found here. So let's try and see if we could now convert this to base 64 now, because the former one we decoded it and got the actual number. Now let's convert it and see if there's going to be any difference or anything we're going to find. I'll come here, convert base 64, encode. Once we want to encode, we click on base 64 and encode. Now encode it. As you can see now, we now have the random alphabet we're seeing. You can see with the equal sign. Now let's send it and see if there's something, because if you remember, we sent it when it was the actual number and we didn't get anything. This was it. So now we've converted it to basis, we've encoded it. Now let's now send it. You can see that we're now having another ID. We have the other ID now of 42068. If you can remember, that was what we entered here from the old order we made, and that was confirmed. We now have to change the last number to 68, and this is it. So it means that there is a vulnerability in the order, which means it was encoded. So this is an encoding of the base 64, and we decoded it in the form normal booking, and now we included to get the actual number of this. Thank you.